Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. My name is Max Kralja, European Commission Joint Research Center. It's a great pleasure, a privilege to be the chair of this fantastic session, which we're going to run in a rather unorthodox way. So what we're going to do, instead of having all these presentations, well, we're going to have a few. But basically, I've asked the speakers to be brief, short, to the point. And what we're going to do is to have 3 speakers who are going to speak for 10 minutes. And you have an opportunity for 1 question, so be quick. Then we're going to have 3 very short statements. And then I'm going to ask a panel of 3 really interesting people to come and tell us whether they are convinced from what they have heard. So essentially their work will be to demolish everything that has been said by the first 6 speakers. Now the first to play this fantastic game is Seth van der Schoot. Now he comes from the Environmental Protection Agency in Rotterdam. Please welcome Seth. And your 10 minutes is starting now.
How do I? Okay, I'm Seth van der Elshout from Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'll talk a bit. I work in the air quality unit, and we have been involved in a few European projects on sharing air quality data across borders to provide interesting services for public information. The first 2 I will speak about a bit more in depth. Then at the bottom, there's a Chinese website. And that's very interesting because it's Chinese IT officials. They were not happy with the way the Chinese government was presenting air quality to their citizens. So they started tapping all kinds of websites in Asia in real time, do their own calculations and put it on a map. So the lesson for me from this is, if you don't make an interesting service for your public, someone else will do it for you. And the technology is available. And you might or you might not like what the others are doing. This is the project, Air Quality, or the CITER project. We made a website, airqualitynow.eu. If you wanted to compare air quality in different European countries, or even in cities in the same country, you would see that everyone presents air quality in their own way, makes an own index to qualify the air quality. And certainly for a layperson, but even for a specialist, it was impossible to compare 2 cities. So what we developed is an exchange. People send their data via FTP to a server in Paris currently. It started in Rome. We do all the calculations in the website, and what you get is comparable information. If you go inside the website, you will find these tables, and you can easily see every hour, it's updated hourly, how your city compares to another one. Now, if you want to do such a comparison, of course, you have to set certain rules, otherwise you are comparing apples with pears. So we defined certain ways, I will not go into the details, to make this comparison as good as possible. Some details, as I have to be quick, I will only mention 2 things. We started as a project, so you write a project document and you commit yourself to do something. These were 5 cities. By now we have more than 100 cities participating. They didn't get funds, they were not obliged by a contract. They thought it was a nice and useful service. So I think this shows that people are interested in these kind of things. When we started this project, we announced our plans, and immediately we got an email from someone from the United States. He was a patient. For him, air quality information was very important. He wanted to travel in Europe. Unfortunately, at that time, when he sent us the email, the service wasn't ready yet. And luckily, air quality in Europe is such that only few people need this real-time information. But for those who need it, it's really a very relevant service. Then Observe, it's another project. you could say it's the next step. Air quality now compares the air quality on a voluntary basis for those cities who provide the information. As I said, about 100. But what happens in between? We don't know. So in Observe, there's a European air quality modeling that provides the picture for the whole of Europe. So now you can also see the situation in between the cities. And what is more important, whereas air quality now relied on monitoring data, this also provides a forecast. So if you are a patient, if you need this information, if you need to adapt your behavior, it's better that you know tomorrow I'm likely to have a problem than that you know 3 hours ago or yesterday I had a problem. So it's a step forward. This is available as an app as well. Here on the left you see the CITER cities, they are inside, but you see the presentation is, well, slightly more modern. You see there's forecast added to it. Here in the middle you see ozone monitoring data. This data is monitored by all European member states, sent to EEA that collects all this data. And then from EEA it goes to Germany where this app is hosted. So there's a lot of movement of data around, and it happens in near real time on your smartphone. On the right-hand side, you see the map. It's a model, a set of models run in the UK, compiled together in France, again sent to Germany, and it arrives on your phone. And you see what has become possible. Because 10 years ago, it was only for Rotterdam. I did a first project on providing real-time information. It was really a headache to get all the data streams lined up. Now it's, well, it's not easy, but things are moving quite fast. Some of the details. This was paid by DG Enterprise as part of GMES. I should now say Copernicus. Lots of data from different people combined into one cool application. We were also asked by the Commission to look into a business model. Can you sell such a service? Well, as I said, there are few people who actually need this, and making a paid service was difficult. The second problem is that all these things are quite driven by science, by technology, and what is good for a scientist is not really sufficient to make an attractive thing for the public. Here you see a map, part of the Netherlands, north of France. Here is Paris. And you see Paris causes some pollution. The wind apparently comes from the north, so it's moving in this direction. But there are a lot of other cities you don't see on the map. It's not just the scale of the map, but it's the way the model works that makes that you don't recognize the cities. Whereas we as the EPA tell people, a city is more polluted than its surroundings, its traffic, that's a major source of pollution, you don't see the roads. To illustrate this, this is part of the Netherlands. You see it's a nitrogen dioxide model, and you can actually see where the major motorways are. You can see the 4 big cities. Here is Rotterdam. It's the worst part in the Netherlands. And you can see as the scale goes from 1 by 1 kilometer to 10 by 10, you lose all structure. And 20 by 20, which is the scale in this app I showed in Observe, then you don't see the cities anymore. So your picture, which is perfectly understandable for an air quality scientist, is not understandable for a person. He wants to know, what is it in my street? And what is it in my street now? So though the services are nice and promising, to make something really useful and appealing for the public, we have to go one step further. And I already used the word, it's science-driven or technology-driven, these things, and those of us who are involved in making these things should ask more, better to the public, what do you actually need? When is it interesting for you? When is it appealing to you? And for me, as an EPA, if I put a map on my website where people can't see the roads, They can't see the refineries in the port. They think we have something to hide. So I don't want to even have this map on my website. The other thing, real time is cool. It takes a lot of technology. We can do it now. We are proud of what we are doing. But perhaps people also need the information if they want to buy a house, if they want to choose to which school or kindergarten I send my children. They don't need the information for today, for right now, but maybe year average information. So better liaise with potential customers. Business opportunities, I said, so far it was difficult, but maybe, you know, a city like Paris can do their own forecasting. They have the funds, they have the capacities. But all these medium-sized cities in Europe, if we can build on a common platform and take the IT and other problems away from them and make a nice service, perhaps they are willing to pay a few thousand a year for such a service. If you can do it for a lot of cities, maybe it's even a viable business. Use advertising. That's an obvious thing. So far, local authorities are reluctant. They don't want a company like Shell to advertise on the air quality app or a car maker, etc. But maybe local government has to think about it, maybe businesses have to think about it, because I think advertising could be a solution. Yes. I was at my last slide. Oh. So, things have moved really fast. There are nice possibilities ahead. There are opportunities, and for the public sector, there are obligations. As I started my speech with the Chinese example, if you don't do it nice enough, fast enough, someone else will do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I've got immediately a question for you. Shouldn't the private sector be the one doing these fantastic applications rather than you worry about business models and advertising, etc., etc., etc.?
Well, so far, apparently there's not enough money in it for the private sector to become interested. So what the EU did in the Observe project is pay a few government parties and private sector parties to develop this and also look into the business model. And for the business model, I must admit it has gotten less attention than developing the tools, making a nice thing, but it was also not easy.
Thank you very much. And I've got Hugo who's got a question.
Thank you, Seth, for this very interesting presentation. Question. Have you ever considered a business model where the polluter would pay?
I'm not sure if you could call that a business model, but you could. I mean, we are also, as an EPA, into environmental licensing, and sometimes we force people to put their information on the internet, to publish what they emit, to show a graph of, or a map of their surroundings, but to turn it into a kind of a public service covering a whole country. I don't think the law in the Netherlands, you know, we can force them to publish what they emit. We cannot force them to make a service covering the country.
Thank you very much. I think